Yorkers born and bred. Bernie and Sid in the morning.
Bernard McGurk and Sid Rosenberg.
Making mischief their business. 77 WABC and the WABC radio app.
Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
Is that because his column is titled The Wayward Special Counsel?
Yep.
Nice job, Matty. Rich Lowry, of course, the brilliant editor of the National Review. His stuff syndicated in just about every paper across the country, very often here with the New York Post. I always say this, two of the smartest guys, and I mean this, that I know in my life. One sits to my right. That's Bernie McGurk. He's brilliant. And the other is Rich Lowry. So with that said, Rich, any truth to the rumor that you are actually the guy that unseats James and beats him tonight in Jeopardy? Because he does lose tonight. Is that you? Are you the guy that beats him?
I don't think so. I'm more of a Wheel of Fortune guy, I hate to say.
Me too. That's for the dummies. Hey, and you're a smart guy. But that is the rumor, by the way, that he does. It's been leaked.
It's in fact, turn around. It's on Channel 7.
Yes.
We have the audio. We'll play it later.
We got leaks like Steve Bannon with the White House.
It happened. It's out there. And sadly, spoiler alert, it's too late now. You heard it.
He lost. He did lose. Hey, but listen, getting to you on a serious note, your column, The Wayward Special Counsel. We did see Robert Mueller speak last week. Obviously, Bernie and I spent a lot of time on it. And look, you say what everybody else said, which is, for the most part, Robert Mueller ditched the presumption of innocence. He knew for 2 years that he can never really indict the guy anyway. So this was one big dog and pony show, basically based on the fact that Mueller just doesn't like him.
Yeah, I don't know what it's based on, but certainly it's bizarre behavior. It's totally counter to the special counsel regulations. I blame Mueller. I also blame the Justice Department officials who are supposed to be supervising him. I mean, the idea that he went for 2 years knowing, apparently, from the beginning, that he wouldn't make the prosecutorial judgment that every prosecutor is supposed to make, yay or nay on whether your subject target committed a crime or not, and no one at the Justice Department knew, not until a couple of weeks before the report was released, and Bill Barr's like, what? What are you telling me? And then no one knows, that he's going to staple on this legal memo at the end that has a theory of obstruction that the AG disagrees with. It's just, this is not how a special counsel is supposed to be, like a line prosecutor, like a standard U.S. attorney. He's not supposed to be an independent counsel just making it up as he goes along with no supervision. But because no one supervised him, they were scared to, either for the politics or they're afraid of being accused of obstruction themselves. He just did what he wanted.
Yeah, and you quote quote Mueller, as saying that he couldn't reach a determination one way or the other about whether the president committed a crime. And you go on to say, so he went and conducted a 2-year investigation, knowing that he couldn't make a decision one way or the other, or at least that's the presumption anyway.
Yeah, and the regulations say you provide a confidential report to the Attorney General on your decision to prosecute or not. So he should have said right at the beginning, look, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I know I can't do it, so please tell me what I should do. Should I proceed? Should I go ahead? And he just went ahead anyway. And the whole non-exonerated thing is completely screwy. It's completely alien to the American tradition as it's existed for like 250 years. And if this were anyone else subject to it, except for Donald Trump, the left would be going crazy, the ACLU would be going crazy. It's just not the way our system works. It's not incumbent on you, if you're accused on a crime, suspected of a crime, to prove your innocence. And that's what Mueller is saying. And he stood there behind a Justice Department podium with the seal on it and said that, and was allowed to do it, and no one on the other side blinked an eye.
Well, the other side is hopefully doing something bigger and better for themselves, which is investigate the investigators, and they let him have his 8 minutes, and then he walked away kind of meekly in retirement. The bigger question is, there are no legal ramifications anymore for President Trump. The only question now is, how does this play out politically? Now, if we assume that Pelosi will balk and not impeach President Trump, which I think is the case, and so does Bernard, could this still hurt President Trump politically, even if it doesn't go as far as impeachment?
I think everyone's already decided on this, and probably decided long ago. I don't think one person's view has changed. I think I go back and forth on impeachment. I still think it's a real live possibility. I think Pelosi's really sincere and committed to stopping it, but there's potential that it becomes unsustainable and impossible for her to stop. But this thing, I mean, if there were a torpedo to the bow on some massive conspiracy with Russia, that would change some minds. That would be a game changer.
Right.
It's just not this. You got alleged obstruction that's really ambiguous with no underlying offense.
Really. Rich Lowry from the National Review, great column out, syndicated. It's called Rich Lowry, the Wayward Special Counsel. All over the place, folks. You can check it out. Now, this chairman of the House Intelligence Committee in the House of Representatives, this is a big deal. This guy, Adam Schiff, he said on cable news many, many times with certitude that he has evidence that the president colluded with the Russians. And my question to you, Rich, and I can't get an answer from anybody, is why didn't he share that information with Mueller?
Right. I mean, it's because there wasn't any. It's because what he
he's lying.
Well, yeah. What he'll say is, they met with these Russian representatives in Trump Tower. But nothing came of it. So he'll just hang his hat on all the things that were truly short of collusion, and just no one. We've talked about this before. No one on the left is embarrassed in the least in their paranoia and conspiracy mongering over the last 2 years. And you just look at the dossier, which has been completely discredited, and you would hear constantly on cable TV, it's getting more and more confirmed. They might have compromising information on Trump, which, all came from the dossier. And that was all nonsense and might even be, active Russian disinformation. That remains to be seen, one of the things that Barr needs to investigate.
Hey, Rich, not that long ago, President Trump landed in London. He's about to have tea with the Queen shortly. He's going to meet with Theresa May as well. We know she's on her way out. Looks like Boris Johnson, his guy, on his way in. What is this really about, this trip to England? What is this about for President Trump?
Well, I think it's mostly, a tradition. Is our closest ally, and he should go there and, have pleasant exchanges with everyone. He's widely hated there, of course. The public's going crazy, and the press is going crazy, and various politicians are posturing in their opposition to him. So it's not going to be the scene of acclaim that the president would like.
It's not a substantive visit. So if you're President Trump, everybody there hates you. I was saying this to Bernie moments ago. If Meghan Markle comes out and rips him, which she did, he's got a choice to let that kind of, fall off his back. And instead he comes back and calls her nasty. And I know that's why we love President Trump. That's who he is. He's not diplomatic, blah, blah, blah. But just imagine if he just would have said, okay, that's how she feels, fine. Just imagine.
I know.
What a
world
kill him?
It would be.
Would it kill him? Honestly, would it kill him? Meghan Markle, you got to go back at? Why?
She was going to move from the country, she said, if he got elected.
Whatever, so let it go, no?
He never lets anything go. I mean, that's never going to change.
And I can also tell you the point of the visit is going to culminate with the D-Day ceremonies in Normandy, which is the 75th anniversary on Thursday.
Yeah, very important.
So it was very convenient to stop in England for a few days and then go over to Normandy on Thursday. But
one of the great hinge points in world history.
Absolutely. And it's reminiscent of when Reagan was there, I guess, for the 50th anniversary, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Would that be right? No, that's not right. It would have been, whatever. Reagan was there, and it was a big deal. And so now you're going to have the president. So, listen, speaking of which, going back to Bob Barr and investigating the investigators, isn't it strange to you, Rich Lowry, that the special counsel, Robert Mueller, he's charged with investigating Russian meddling, and he never looked at that aforementioned Russian dossier, a Russian dossier paid for by the Democrats and Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, I mean, you'd think you'd want a comprehensive look at Russia's role in the election. And also the report is written in misleading ways, just not to allude to how the dossier helped start this whole thing. So if my colleague Andy McCarthy, former prosecutor, has been reading the thing very closely, and just time and again, just the really subtle things that you really have to be in the weeds to notice that just show the way this thing was written was not totally in the up and up.
Not at all.
No, not even close. Hey, Rich, on the way out, just imagine if CC gave you a great effort last night. you could have had the Red Sox 10.5 back on June 2nd.
Well, I need Bill Barr to investigate what's going on with Clint Frazier in right field.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to hit that in the Blitz coming up next. He's a disaster out there, unlike you, who's brilliant here each and every Monday. Rich, another great performance. Thank you so much. All right. Rich Lowry, once again, National Review, syndicated all across the country. His new column is out, The Wayward Special Counsel. He did mention Clint Frazier in right field. We've got the skipper, Aaron Boone, talking about Clint, as well as a Met loss and a big road win in the NBA Finals. The Shrewsbury Bicycle Blitz with me is coming up right after these words.
Sid in the morning is over. Bernie and Sid in the morning, 77 WABC.